I should have walked away. That's the first thought that keeps echoing in my head when I look back at that night. A kid alone in the woods past midnight. What sane person wouldn't call the police and be done with it? But something about her stopped me cold. She wasn't crying like a normal child. She just stood there, her small frame shaking, eyes reflecting the moonlight in a way that felt wrong. Too bright, too knowing. "Hey," I whispered, crouching a little. "Are you lost?" She didn't answer. Instead, her head tilted sharply, like a bird listening for sounds I couldn't hear. The silence between us grew heavier by the second. My phone flickered in my pocket, screen flashing random static before dying completely. That never happened before. The woods around us shifted too, like the air itself had tightened. I stepped closer, and she finally moved. Not away, toward me. She pressed her tiny hand against my wrist, and the strangest sensation rushed through me. Warmth, but not natural warmth. It pulsed like a second heartbeat, syncing with mine for a single terrifying moment. Then she spoke, a soft string of syllables in a language I couldn't place. Smooth, melodic, but sharp at the edges, like glass breaking underwater. I froze, because though I couldn't understand the words, my body reacted as if it recognized them. Her gaze locked onto mine, wide and urgent. "Mother," she said, clear as day, before slipping back into that alien tongue. Every instinct told me to back away, to run until my lungs collapsed. But the look in her eyes, it wasn't just fear. It was desperation. Like she wasn't only lost, she was being hunted. Branches snapped somewhere deeper in the woods, heavy, deliberate. Not an animal, not random. Someone, or something, was coming. The girl gripped my arm with surprising strength, pulling me as if she already knew I'd help. And in that insane moment, I did what no rational person would. I took her hand, because whatever was breaking through the trees wasn't coming to rescue her. It was coming to claim her. We didn't stop running until the trees thinned and the glow of the town streetlights came into view. My chest burned, my knees ached, but she moved like a shadow, silent, swift, always a few steps ahead even though her legs were half the length of mine. When we finally slowed, I bent over, catching my breath, but she just stood there, eyes scanning rooftops like she expected danger to drop from the sky. "Okay," I gasped, trying to steady my voice. "Who's out there? What are we running from?" She blinked at me, confusion flickering across her face. For a second she looked like any scared child, lost in a place that didn't make sense. But then she touched the side of a broken lamppost, and the metal sparked, not dead electricity, but some strange ripple of light that seemed to follow her hand like liquid. My skin prickled. That wasn't normal. I tried again, slower this time. "What's your name?" Her lips parted. "K. Lee." The word sounded strained, like she was borrowing my language, stretching it to fit her tongue. She pointed at herself, then pressed her palm to my chest. "You." Yeah," I muttered, startled. "Me." Her eyes softened as though she'd made a discovery. For the first time, she smiled. The moment didn't last. A low hum rolled across the rooftops, deep, mechanical, too steady to be natural. I turned, searching for the source, but the sound seemed to come from everywhere. The girl stiffened, clutched my hand, and tugged hard. We ducked into an alleyway, shadows swallowing us whole. My brain fought to make sense of things. Maybe she was some experiment, some government project gone wrong? Maybe that hum was a drone looking for her. But if she was man-made, why did she look so human? Why did every instinct scream that she wasn't lying when she said mother? Callie pressed 2 fingers against the brick wall. For a breathless moment, glowing lines etched themselves into the stone, forming symbols I didn't recognize. Then, just as quickly, the light faded, leaving no trace. She sagged a little, as if it drained her. I caught her before she fell, heart hammering. Whatever she was, whoever was chasing her, I knew one thing. She didn't belong here. And if I let go of her now, I'd never forgive myself. I didn't take her home right away. Something in my gut told me that walking through the front door of my apartment with a glowing forest child who bent streetlights with her fingertips was a fast way to end up on the news, or in a lab. So instead, I cut through the back streets and headed for the only place I knew nobody checked this late, the old auto shop my uncle left behind when he moved to Florida. The place was dusty, empty, and smelled like oil trapped in concrete. But it had 4 walls and a door that locked. For now, that counted as safe. Callie walked in slowly, running her fingers across old tires and rusted tools like she was scanning them for memories. She paused at a cracked mirror near the shelves. Her reflection flickered, not like bad lighting, more like her image didn't quite belong in the glass. I tried not to react. I grabbed a blanket from a storage bin and draped it over her shoulders. "You're freezing," I said. She didn't answer, but she pulled it tighter around herself like she understood comfort, if not the words. My phone was still dead, so I used an old battery lantern to light the place. She watched the switch click on, eyes wide, like she was studying fire for the first time. Then she held her hand near the light. The glow inside the lamp flickered in rhythm with her breathing. That's when reality hit me like a truck. She wasn't human, not enhanced, not mutated. Other. I sat on an overturned bucket and rubbed my face. "Callie," I said slowly, "where is your mother?" It felt ridiculous speaking into the void like that, but she looked at me. She closed her eyes and raised a hand, not pointing at the door, not at herself, at the sky. A chill raced down my back. Then, before I could think of what to say, headlights washed across the boarded windows. A car door slammed. Voices. 2, maybe 3, muffled but getting closer. I froze. Callie darted behind a tool cabinet like she practiced hiding her whole life. I crept to the window and peeked through a crack in the boards. Not police. Not random locals. 3 men in plain black gear. No logos. No lights. Just silence and purpose. They weren't searching for a child. They were hunting a target. And they'd come to the right place. I pressed myself flat against the wall, hardly breathing. Through the crack, I watched the men move, efficient, deliberate, like they'd rehearsed this dozens of times. One held a small device that pulsed with a faint red glow. Every few seconds, it beeped, and his head turned slightly, adjusting his path. They weren't searching blindly. They had a tracker. My pulse thudded in my ears. I turned to Callie, crouched behind a cabinet, her eyes wide, terrified yet alert. She understood the danger. That much was clear. The men split up, one circling toward the back, another sweeping the side wall. The leader raised his hand, 2 fingers in the air, silent command. They moved like predators. I had seconds, maybe less. I grabbed an old wrench from the workbench, my only weapon. The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. 3 trained operatives, and I was standing there with a rusty tool like some low-budget action hero. But running wasn't an option. If they found her, I had no doubt they'd take her, and I'd never see her again. I motioned for Callie to stay quiet, then crept toward the door. My heart raced so hard I thought it might give me away. The first man appeared in the doorway. His eyes swept the shop, slow and methodical. He stepped inside, raising a small scanner. I swung. The wrench connected with a metallic crack, and the device flew out of his hand, clattering across the floor. He staggered, cursing, but didn't go down. His partner burst in from the side, weapon raised, something sleek and unfamiliar, not a gun I recognized. Callie reacted before I could. She stretched out her hand, and the lantern light flared so bright it blinded all of us for a split second. The air itself seemed to tremble. The man stumbled backward, weapon slipping from his grip. She grabbed my sleeve. "Run," she said, the word clearer this time. We bolted out the back, into the night. The alley stretched long and empty, but the hum followed us again, low, mechanical, relentless. As we ran, I realized a terrifying truth. These men weren't the only ones hunting her. Whatever they worked for wasn't the only thing closing in. We didn't stop running until the streetlights vanished behind us and the ground gave way to open fields. My lungs boned, legs trembling, but Callie never faltered. She pulled me onward, her hand locked around mine, guiding me like she knew exactly where we needed to be. The hum grew louder, vibrating in my chest now. But above us, another sound cut through, deep, resonant, not from any machine I'd ever heard. I looked up and froze. The sky was splitting. Not literally, but that's how it felt. Clouds tearing apart as a shape descended, massive and silent, its surface shifting like liquid metal catching the moonlight. It wasn't a ship built with bolts and steel. It looked alive, Callie stopped, eyes glowing faintly, face lifted toward it. Her lips trembled as she whispered one word again. Mother! The craft hovered just above the field, wind whipping around us in violent spirals. My instinct screamed to run, but my feet stayed rooted. A section of the ship peeled open, light flooding the grass in a perfect circle. It wasn't just light. It carried warmth, like sunlight after winter. Callie let go of my hand and stepped forward. For a heartbeat, I thought that was it, that she'd vanish into that light and I'd wake up tomorrow questioning if any of this had ever happened. But she turned back, walked toward me, pressed a small palm against my chest, right over my racing heart. Her voice was soft, but steady. You, come. The field erupted with movement behind us. The men in black had followed, weapons raised, their shouts drowned by the roaring wind. One fired, but the bullets never reached. The light bent, shimmering, swallowing projectiles like water-catching stones. Callie tugged my hand again. My body screamed in panic, but something else pulled stronger. Trust. Against every instinct I had, I stepped into the circle of light with her. For a moment, everything vanished. The field, the men, the cold night air. Just warmth, and the faint outline of a being far larger, far older than anything human. A presence that radiated recognition. Her mother. And then the voice, not spoken, but inside me. He is bound now. His part is ours. The last thing I saw before the light engulfed us was the look on Callie's face. Relief, gratitude, and something that terrified me most of all, certainty. My life wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to them.